Hello, welcome back. As you can see, I oftentimes in the middle of class will take off my coat and relax a little bit after I give students a break. I've done the same thing here as well. I'll try to keep this video to one 15-minute segment. It may go over and I may have to issue it in two other parts. YouTube only allows me right now to publish 15-minute segments at a time. I think there's a way I can get approvals to extend that, and I'll be working on that. But for right now, everything I publish is going to be in 15 minutes or longer, so I'll try and talk fast so you don't have to keep opening videos. I want to get to the content portion of the class, or this particular the discussion I want to have this week. But let me just make sure I review where we were and see that you have no unanswered questions about just the mechanics of the class. As an online class, there's just a couple of things you do every week, but you do them every week, and it'll allow you to keep up. It's almost impossible not to keep up if you follow the syllabus and follow the 3 or 4 things that are in the menu of the online class. First of all, I would begin every week by looking at the announcement. I will always have something to say about last week and this week and what we're doing. I'll try and recapture what was in the syllabus to try and make it clear. I'll try and incorporate any questions that I heard in discussions the previous week and answer them again officially for the whole class. And I'll try and make some points, some substantive points about the content, and maybe if it's around a fun time like a World Series or Halloween or Thanksgiving, I might feebly try a joke or two or an offhand reference to something going on. Again, I'm from Annapolis, Maryland, but I also have a house out here, and so I spend my time flying back and forth between Annapolis, which is close to Baltimore, and Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles. I grew up in L.A., so I've been a Dodger and Angel fan most of my life. I'm now totally wed to the Orioles and to the Redskins, not so much the Ravens, so I have a lot of things going on in the world of sports. I see it, many of you are sports fans, so I'm sure we can find a way of exchanging on that in between our serious dialogue on public policy and business. So I would look at the announcement. I would then look to the class material and make sure you understand what it is and get through it as quick as you can in the course of the week. So you can get to point 3, which is the discussion. The discussion for me is a critical learning piece. I spend a lot of time with the class on discussions, and that's where I'm going to be asking you to speculate and to think, and that's really where the advantage of online one-on-one communication takes place, because you'll be talking to me and I'll be talking back to you, and hopefully I can learn from you and you can learn from me. But it's a lot different than sitting in the back of an 80-person classroom and trying to pay attention in between the other things that are going on, or you're taking your much-needed 20-minute nap, or the instructor babbling incoherently. This will be a much more serious, direct exchange that I hope to be beneficial to you. And then finally, there's the assignments, the 4th thing. There's whatever assignment it's going to be, whether it's a paper, a quiz, a newspaper article, a discussion, or something. It'll be an extra thing, and it's not every week that we have them either. But when we do, you'll see them. And you should probably be looking at those the same time you look at the discussion, after you've done the reading and after you're prepared to answer them. So I hope that makes it takes out some of the hocus pocus or uncertainty or mysticism of online. You read an announcement. It's on the very front of the thing when you open it up. You take a look at the class material. You have to then proceed to review that week. You engage in the discussion on the material, and you respond to the assignment. 4 things, and that's it. You do them every week, and you take the exams, which they're timed into the system, and I haven't done them myself yet, so I'm hesitating explaining them exactly to you. But I'll be working with the department to get the first one going in about 4 weeks. But I would like you to focus on that. Not now, but as we get close. Now do the reading and the discussions, and the exams will take care of themselves. I understand they're not a big deal, so we'll see how that goes. There is a portion of this class that's dedicated to ethics. I think it's a very important piece in all public policy and government. Ethical concerns have emerged lately as a significant matter of attention, both because it's the right thing to do, because it sort of is our way of addressing abuses and failures and misdeeds of the past. And it is part of what the American, I would call it the American exceptional notion, is somehow we're good, and somehow it's not okay to simply be a hard-hearted, focused, manipulative, decision-making businessman or government employee that just gets his or her way by screwing over everybody else in their path. That's not a good thing to do. We don't see ourselves in that light. And increasingly, formal ethics training has become a part of corporate world, university world. And I'm happy to see in this classroom about business and government. And we'll have a solid week dealing with ethics, ethical issues, ethical choices. You do some case studies. I think we'll have some fun with that. Let me get to the, the content issue here, because it's very important, and that's why we're here. We're talking about the relationship between business and government. And to that, I would add a third. I mentioned that in my announcement, and that's the nonprofit sector. I run a nonprofit. It's called the Public Leadership Institute. It's been awarded, I was awarded it by IRS 5 years ago, and I've used it to accept grant money from the federal government to do projects, which I'm happy to say otherwise would not be done. And things like information sharing, and I'm doing a project with the Department of Labor on mine safety right now. That's why I'm spending a lot of time in Colorado and West Virginia, looking at the practices of the miners and asking from a government policy perspective, could we be doing things better? In that world, the notion of government interacting with business and a nonprofit, by all accounts, is the projection of how we're going to function as a society over the next several years, if not decades. There is a book that I've asked to be added to the class called Mega Communities. I will be making Xerox copies of relevant pages. You're not going to have to buy anything else. Don't worry about that. I'll make the material available for you. I know the author quite well. And he suggests that the future of the relationship will be one that major projects that involve serious issues of equity, such as fixing the bridges and our infrastructure, which are crumbling, dealing with issues of cyber intrusions, dealing with protracted problems like immigration, various problems having to do with underdeveloped cities and work that needs to be done, and poverty programs and education programs. None of them can be done by a single sector acting alone, as was previously thought. The government, as an entity, generally has the equities. It determines that something has to be done to fix the bridges and the infrastructure and the sewers and the power grid and all that, because the people are demanding it and because our survival depends on it. The government sector is limited. It can only do so much because most of the things that have to be dealt with are owned by the private sector, owned by business. And so the government in a free society cannot command the business to do anything. The business sector is another sector, another entity unto its own in the United States. And the business sector has its own motivation, which is not insignificant, but it is different from government. While most businessmen also would like to do the right thing and make a contribution, they cannot survive without making a profit. The entire system depends on business making profit. And pressures in current days to reduce the ability of business making profit does have a drag on the economy, which affects us all. So right there's an interrelationship between business and government. That government wants the problems fixed. Oftentimes business is the vehicle by which it's fixing them, but to fix them, business still has to continue to make money. Government is often concerned that business is making too much money or puts requirements on business that's going to reduce the amount of money they make, which causes business to do less in the way of fixing stuff. So right away we see a confluence going there. The book Mega Communities also says that emerging role of a nonprofit is crucial, and that's what I do, because the nonprofit is different than the government. Has its own equities or things that it wants to do, but it has many of them. So even something like healthcare reform has got multiple dimensions, from the cost perspective to the quality of care perspective to the availability of the uninsured, and it has multiple competing objectives. Business, of course, has its own objectives, which is largely to make money, but only the nonprofit, if done correctly, has the objective, which is make the thing work. For whatever it takes, get your arms around the objective, building the bridges, fixing the infrastructure, enhancing education, dealing with immigration policy, and only the nonprofit is funded and organized to have one focus, and one focus only, and to put everything it has into that focus. And in doing so, it needs to work with the government, because that's the legitimacy and the power, and it gives them the standing to work. A nonprofit has no standing by itself. I can't go out there and just say I want to fix bridges and roads and improve education. I can be part of government's agenda to do that. And the nonprofit certainly is a nonprofit, doesn't have any money to fix anything, so the nonprofit must also rely on business to join the fray with all kinds of incentives to do so. And the book Mega Communities, you will see, talks about the integration of these three forces as the new model. And I've subscribed to that. I think most significant problems are going to involve the use of all three. And so it's very important to me that we start this class when we look at business and government, also including the nonprofit sector, and projecting a model or a prediction for how things are going to happen in the past.